Hey, everybody. Hang on a second. We're just waiting for Jane to get here, which is exciting. I like Jane. She's been gone for a little while. She moved. Oh, here she is. Hi. We're already live streaming, just so you know.
Unmute, start the video.
Okay, there you go. And we're already live streaming, just so you know.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
Oh, good. All right, then let me find us. I'm going to find us. Dun, dun, dun. Ah, here we go. Come on, baby. There I am. There you are. Wonderful. I haven't seen you in a while. This is exciting.
Oh, not since probably the last time we did this.
I know. I've missed you because you've traveled and moved.
No.
So have you been watching what's been going on with the news? I think we need to at least talk about it.
I just saw it. When I was tuning in here is the first time I saw it. Mom has CNN on the TV without the sound on, but it's bizarre.
It's bizarre. It is bizarre.
Talk about emotions out of control.
Right. I know. And that's, I mean, it's one of the reasons people ask me lately, they're like, you know, why are you doing this? Why are you so passionate? Or why am I so nutty? Let me turn off my fan. Why am I so nutty about teaching people about emotional regulation? I mean, because theoretically, it's not a real sexy topic, but it's about bringing order and peace out of the chaos that we're living in inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves. And it equates to slavery, and it equates to abuse, and it equates to child abuse, and it equates to illness, and it equates to cancer. And it equates to everything. This learning how to regulate your nervous system and regulate your emotions, it's pretty much the core of a lot of stuff. And when you can get stuff off your system and figure out and regulate yourself regularly, you stop having a lot of the problems that you've had.
Right. And you don't start new problems that you might not have yet.
Right. We were talking about that with Tina. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty well established that our emotions affect our health.
Mm-hmm.
You can Google it and probably find thousands of studies about that.
Mm-hmm. So how did you walk on your healing path? You know, how did you reverse some of your things?
Well, I don't know if I can answer that question directly. I don't, I don't have a sense of a straight line to do that. But I think any time that you can regulate your nervous system like you've been teaching women to do, it has far-reaching consequences in terms of not only health, but relationships, politics, good sense, whatever you want to talk about in terms of relationships with other people, whether it's on an individual level or a global level. It has to do with emotions. I mean, look at war. War is basically men peeing on each other's shoes. And blowing people up in the process.
Yes, with a lot of unnecessary suffering because they were in a bad mood or the weather was bad or whatever.
Well, look at this current leadership, the leadership that is encouraging these people to storm the Capitol. I mean, that is childish emotional behavior.
Mm-hmm. But let's also think about how many times have we maybe been on the side of, wanting to make our point more loudly. I think about the 60s. I think about how a lot of stuff happened in the 60s, and, it's a fine line between whether you're a good guy or a bad guy.
Sure is. but I think that you have to consider what's right for yourself, what you think is, not what you think, but what you feel in your heart is the right thing to do in an emotional situation. And the truth is, when we're emotional, and you've said this over and over again, we're not thinking with our frontal cortex. We're thinking with our amygdala, which is it's the brain that reacts. It's the, what do they call it? The serpent brain.
Oh, the reptilian brain. Yes.
Brain, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one that gets triggered first, and it blocks out all good sense.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening in Washington right now is, and that's why they were so, everyone was trying to be cautious about, look, if you're in a leadership position, you don't need to incite people, because your ability to incite them is an abuse of power. It's an abuse of the power that you have over them.
Right.
Even if it's just the fact that they look up to you because you've achieved a certain status in life. This is something that's actually bothered me for a long time. I used to teach kindergarten. And when I taught kindergarten, I was very aware of the power difference. Here are these little children, 5 years old, 6 years old, looking to me to shape their lives, to put them on the right track, to teach them how to write and get along. And
Yeah.
I knew that I was in a position of authority and a position of power, and I needed to not abuse that, because these children could be really harmed. And so I've always carried with me a sense of, no, we all have to realize the power we have to harm other people and respect that and not ignore it. That always needs to be our pause of, yes, I have power in this situation. How do I want to use it?
Right. I like what you say about when you're triggered, don't do anything right then. Take a break, go to the bathroom, leave, do something else, or just don't say anything until you get yourself regulated.
Mm-hmm. But that's the trick. A lot of women just don't say anything, and then it gets shoved down, and then they never say anything, and that's where the problems happen. It's not that because it's almost like contradictory advice, isn't it? On the one hand, just shut your mouth. Don't say anything. And women on the other hand have been like, I've been shutting my mouth and not saying anything my entire life, and I'm not going to do it anymore. So now I'm going to stand up for myself, and now we're going to have this out. And I think that's what happens with everybody. They suppress and oppress themselves so much that they get to the point where they're in Washington storming the Capitol, because they have all of these unexpressed emotions, because they were told over and over to be quiet and sit down and, don't say anything. So it seems contradictory, but what I'm saying is, in the moment, love yourself enough to take care of your own needs first.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you've done a lot of fun things in your life. That was part of your selling point for me. It's like, oh my God, she's done what? She's studied crop circles. She's studied divining. So what sort of cool things have you learned on your journey that have helped you, from wherever they came from? What are the things you really loved that gave you balance and peace and curiosity and adventure and interest? Hi! Say hi to your mom. She's behind you.
Hi, Mom. Rita says hi. You're on camera. You're on camera.
Hi, Rita.
Hi! I'm so glad to see you.
Good to see you.
Are you enjoying your trip?
I sure am.
Oh, I'm glad. How wonderful. I'm so glad you stopped by. Thank you. That was fun.
So back to me.
No, it's about me, Rita. You've been talking about yourself. Now you're talking to my mom. When does it come to me? I know I'm a little bit like that. Ahead, I want to hear your stories. I love to hear your stories. You've had a colorful life.
I think I have, and more to come. But the one thing that helped me the most with recognizing my triggers and being able to rid myself of some of the stuff that triggers me, stuff that happened years ago, decades ago, childhood stuff.
Right. Weird memories
Yeah.
like someone hurting you or a slight. I still remember birthday parties at school where, I couldn't eat what everybody else brought. I mean, we remember those things.
Right. But you don't remember a lot of it, but you get triggered anyway. And I learned this technique that was developed by a chiropractor called neuro-emotional technique. And it's a way of getting at the underlying emotions that people have that keep them from getting well. And this is something that I learned to do when a patient just doesn't respond to traditional treatments. You check
and so
in,
you suspect, that there might be an underlying stressor.
and you can find out just by muscle testing and verbally challenging the muscle test.
Interesting.
So there's a process that you go through, and you start in a very general way and in asking questions and muscle testing at the same time. And you start out, with whatever the person's issue is, and you ask if it's about love or money. It's usually one of those. And if it's not about either one of those, it's about yourself. So then you continue to ask more and more specific questions until you get down to the issue. And then you test for when in time this was triggered. So that's when you can go back to childhood. You just
would you do this? Would you do this with me?
Sure.
Okay, so do you have a preference for how I muscle test? Because sometimes I do the sway test instead because it's easier for me to read.
Or whatever's appropriate for you. But you
do the
have
little. Yeah, I just have to get up.
And
okay.
I don't have a chart with me of all the emotions and all the,
Oh, you'll wing it. Yeah. You're a pro. We'll be fine. All right.
So what are you here about, Rita? What is the issue that you have today?
So do I muscle test for whether it's love or money?
No, you tell me the issue first, and then we'll muscle test about love or money.
So what would I like help on?
Yes.
I would like help on making wiser decisions when I'm tired. I tend to go the lazy route. And if I'm tired, I just let myself keep getting more tired. And I think, oh God, I'm tired. Why am I tired? Whereas I find that if I feel that I'm getting energy from the universe, I feel energized and awake. But I tend to just, want to go towards the, I don't have enough time and when it's really not true.
Okay, so the issue is that you feel tired when you're under stress.
Yeah. I know I feel tired, but I don't do anything about it.
Is there any particular incident that you can tell me about that has caused that?
Like when I woke up this morning, I said to myself, I just don't want to get up and ride the bike and do a day. And I don't want to because I'm tired and maybe I'll just stay here where it's warm in bed. I mean, I got up and I rode the bike anyways, but it was the idea of I was starting the day already thinking that I was tired, Whereas I know sometimes I can be up at 4 a.m. and it's the best time of my day because it's meditative and it's quiet. I mean, it's just the story that I tell myself. And I tell myself the story less. The story used to be like, oh, I never get enough sleep. I never get enough sleep. And I still get the same amount of sleep, but now my quality of sleep is better. But I also, as I said, wake up kind of still with that last of, oh, I didn't get a break, or, you know, the mindset of I'm being oppressed in some way and victimized somehow by the universe and God.
So, so let's check to see if there's an emotional component to that issue.
Okay.
I want you to, we'll check and see if it's emotional or physical or chemical, like toxic.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, I want you to take, wait a minute. I want you to take these two fingers and put them in the corners of your eyes.
Okay. So my first two fingers. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Put them in the corners of your eyes.
On the corners of my eyes. Okay. No, I can't see you. Hang on.
They're where your fingers get wet.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Now, I want you to do your sway test to see if there's an emotional component to this.
Yes.
Okay. Put your hand across your forehead. You can take your fingers out of your eyes.
Okay, good. Because I was poking myself in the eye and it was a little uncomfortable.
Again.
Okay, so test it
Yeah.
again. What am I
Yeah.
testing for?
Emotional component.
Okay, is there an emotional component? Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's ask if this is about love. First of all, that's everybody you've ever known, everybody who's ever known you and your interaction with them.
Okay.
So just think about whether it's love and test that.
No.
Okay. Is it about
Let
money?
me tell everybody what I'm doing. I'm doing what's called a sway test, which is kind of like a form of muscle testing. And what I do is I get an idea of whether yes is me falling forward or yes is me swaying back. And so that gives me a yes or no. And then when Jane asks a question, I make sure I'm kind of grounded on my feet. I'm almost like the pendulum. I'm almost like the divining crystal, where I'm paying attention to which way my body is going. And that's what's giving me the answer. But there's all sorts of ways to muscle test. But I like sway testing because it's easier for me to read. Otherwise, I start to, question it. And, was it really that? Was it? This is like, no, okay. Am I leaning forward or am I leaning back? Which is it?
Well, if I were there with you, I'd have you hold your arm out and I'd lightly push down on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was an issue or a conflict with what we were talking about, your arm would go weak. So we'd know we were on to something. Because
there's a divide. I can almost feel it in my head. There's a disconnect, and because there's a disconnect, it's like unplugged from the whole system, and it doesn't have the strength. Whereas when it's connected to everything, then it's got the whole body, the whole everything behind it, and there's no way it can move.
Everything is congruent.
Yes.
Right. Okay, can we test now to see if this is about money?
Sure.
Okay, you go.
It said no.
Okay, let's ask if it's about Rita.
Yes.
Okay. So something that's inside you is causing that. And that's always the case. It's something inside you, no matter whether the source is love, money, or you. So we're getting right down to it. So I want to test to see what the emotion is. And we do that by touching, I like to do it by touching the acupuncture pulse points on the wrist. So
Okay.
I want to take your right hand and bring it around like this
Oh,
underneath.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. And then your middle finger should be on right over the wrist bone.
Okay.
Your index finger should be right in the crease between your hand and your wrist.
Got
And then
it.
the ring finger should fall in line. And I
Okay.
want you, that's it.
Got
Yeah.
it. Good.
You should be able to feel a pulse in
Uh-huh.
all those places with a light touch. So tell me if it's one of those points. Test to see if it's
Oh,
a yes
okay.
for
Okay.
being one of those points.
No.
Okay, now touch deeper. Do a deeper feel for the pulses and then test that.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's test just the one the closest to your thumb. Tell me if
Okay.
it's that one with a deep touch.
Okay. With the deep touch, is it the one closest to my thumb? No.
Okay, now with a deep touch, tell me if it's the one in the middle.
Yes, but it was more neutral.
Okay, well, let's check the third one just to make sure, but test that one.
No.
Okay, so it's the one in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And the emotions that lie on that point are anger and resentment.
Ah! You know what I found through all of this havening and all these TAT points and all this stuff? I have found that I am ferocious. I'm a ferocious woman, and I will protect what I desire to protect, and I will protect it at the top of my lungs if I have to. I have had a lot of repressed rage in my life, and that's one of the side effects of doing this work is your emotions come to the surface to be released. So when you're rageful at someone, it might be a release of emotion, and you might not want to, threaten to blow up their car. You might want to instead go for a walk, because the rage we're feeling and I end up feeling, it might not be appropriate for the situation. That's why you need to pause and find out whether this is an appropriate response to this situation or whether this is something that has ties to the past.
So knowing that, you know where the rage lies on the pulse points. What you can do is just contact that pulse point, put your hand across your forehead,
mm-hmm.
and picture yourself in that rage. Feel the rage and just feel it as deeply as you can with your eyes closed until it dissipates. And it should only take a minute or so. So just hang in there for a minute.
Okay.
And let it dissipate. It's non-specific rage right now. We haven't gotten specific about it, but that's okay. We can relieve it by just doing that.
Okay, yeah, I feel my shoulders relax.
Okay. So when you feel like you're done with it, let go. And
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to test again to see if there's an issue, if there's still rage there on
what came up for me underneath it?
Well, tell me.
That rage is exciting.
Oh, you
that
like
rage feels so liberating and like justified, and it feels powerful, and it feels good to unload all of that rage.
Yeah.
So Pamela wants to know what I'm doing to release the rage. I'm holding that center point, the one on my wrist, and then I'm putting my hand on my forehead, and I'm reminding myself of the last time that I had a loud meltdown, and reliving that in all of its joy and passion and creativity, and then allowing the energy to just the tension around it to relax, because by doing this, holding the point and holding our head tells our body to relax and let go of the tension. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing this movement in order to get rid of the tension around that and that rage, and to detox it. Right?
It neutralizes the emotions so that it doesn't interfere with your decision making.
Great. So you can do this in the bathroom or behind a refrigerator door. You know, you don't have to do it in public. You can always find a way to be sneaky about it.
Yes. But it really does relieve the situation. And if you know where those points are and you know what you're feeling, you can do that in any situation.
So the muscle testing tells you what to work with. And then when it gets triggered or when it gets dinged, then we can relieve the tension around it.
Right. Now, I do this on myself because I know where the emotions lie on the acupuncture meridians, and usually know what emotion I'm feeling. And any one emotion has more underneath it. So you relieve anger and you're likely to find sadness under there too.
Right. Or for me, excitement.
Well,
that's not good either. You know, I'm not good or bad, but even when I'm excited about things, I've discovered I don't follow that, because that's an emotional charge too. And there's something underneath that emotional charge. You know, there's some reason it makes me excited, and it wouldn't take much to flip me over to, you know, to angry. And so anything that's high level, I like to bring down, even if it's excitement or something that's pleasurable, because that's just as, you know, just as much back and forth.
Yeah, you probably should be an EMT or something.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, if you like excitement.
Not that much excitement. Okay, so what do we do next? So I relieved the anger that keeps me from getting up in the morning.
Yeah, that's all we would do unless we were in a session where we were really getting specific. But that's that's a way to do it fast and relieve whatever is the urgent situation right then.
So what's the top finger, the one that's on the bone?
That's the fire meridian. Oh, the fire meridian is on the crease right by your thumb.
Uh-huh. Okay, so the fire meridian's on the crease right by my thumb.
And there's a whole list of emotions that lie on that. Feeling lost, powerless. I don't know. I don't have my chart, so I.
Oh, okay. So the one's kind of more like helplessness and lost, and the middle one's more like anger and rage. And what's the bottom one?
The third one is fear and self-esteem, low self-esteem.
Okay.
And there are more on the other wrists too.
Oh.
There's a whole, yeah. So right next to the thumb is grief, sadness. On the wrist bone is, where's the stomach, spleen? There's self-esteem and something else. And then the third one is I can't remember, but
that's okay. Don't worry about it. But the basics are that you can muscle test to sort of find out if it's money, love, or yourself, and then muscle test to figure out which pulse. Yeah, which specific pulse and the depth of the pulse. So you hold it lightly, muscle test, and you hold it deeply, muscle test, and then you test each point individually.
So that comes out to 12 different points
Okay.
on each side, and there are 12 meridians, and
Got
there
it. Ah,
each meridian.
got it. So 3 on the surface, 3 a little bit deeper on each wrist, meaning 12. 12
Right.
different points that you want to muscle test for and check. Well, that's cool, because that's something that, what do you find makes it different from some of the other nervous system regulation stuff? Because I find that every tool has their own, I don't know, unique gifts that they bring, that they do something unique or special.
Well, this is a little more in detail about what actually is the issue. So by doing this process, you get into asking more and more specific questions. So it brings up the awareness of what it is that's triggering you and when it started in your life. So you can find it in time as when it started.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, especially if we don't know, if, like you said, it's non-specific. A lot of things we've forgotten and we have no idea what they are. But once we do a technique like this, we're able to reclaim that memory a lot of times. Like, oh, that's what happened. That's why I reacted that way.
Right. So by muscle testing and getting more and more specific, then it triggers your memory.
When I do stuff like that, well, I'll use tarot cards, my animal tarot cards, and I'll intuitively ask questions. So I'll just follow my intuition. Like, how is this going to affect me today? Or what's going to, what's the best way for me to handle this? Or what's the truth about what's going on? Or what's another perspective? And so I like to test out questions like that, going deeper and deeper. Like, what's my perspective on this? What perspective should I have?
Yes.
What would be the next right step? And I muscle test around those things. And so that would help people get deeper, to just be curious and maybe even just write down the questions that pop up in their mind around it, and then go through and muscle test for those different questions.
Right. There are so many different techniques to relieve the stress of having an emotional triggering.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the one that you use, or the several that you use, because they're just simple and quick and you can do them anywhere.
Yeah.
But they get at and raise awareness of where that's coming from.
Well, I think that's the key. If we taught this stuff in schools, if it was public service announcements, if it was taught to healthcare workers, emotional regulation, if it was taught how to handle people who are struggling with mental health or ADD or meltdowns, if this was taught and at a forefront, we wouldn't be having people storming our Capitol today.
Right. Right.
This is an important piece of health information.
Well, there is a silver lining there, because it was just announced. I saw it flash on the screen.
Yeah.
That both Democrats won the Georgia runoff elections.
Good. I'd heard something like that it was close, but that they both won. So
I think
it's been a crazy time.
Hopefully it'll change the emotional tenor of the nation's capital and the leadership, and things will calm down a little bit. We've had a leader that is inciting ugliness. Yeah,
I know. And people aren't taking responsibility for themselves, because someone like that someone who is manipulating people can only manipulate people if you let yourself be manipulated. If you're not looking out for what's the highest good, what does my heart say, what's the wisest decision for everyone involved, then we tend to get easily manipulated by our emotions, by these very things that are triggering us. Someone can come in, and that's the main reason I wanted to stop triggering, is because I got tired of other people being able to control how I felt.
Yes.
Because not everybody was sincere or honest or caring or nurturing about it. And so they might know that I had these triggers, but they wouldn't care that they would push these buttons in order to make me uncomfortable. So I really wanted to clean this stuff up because I got tired of everybody else treating me like a pincushion because it was entertaining. And I was like, I have to stop being so sensitive. How am I going to do this? And so tools like this are what did that. So I stopped being so sensitive and I stopped giving the power of how I felt to somebody else, because that's what I was doing. I gave them the power by not doing anything about my emotional triggers, by getting it off my system. Yep. I didn't do it purposely, but it was the side effect. Other people had all the power over me.
So the result of all that is you can calm yourself down. You don't have as much anxiety. Anxiety causes all kinds of physical problems. And there's plenty of research to back that up. Mm-hmm. And you'll be healthier. Your relationships will improve. Your community will improve just because the people that you interact with are going to be affected differently by you. Yeah. So of every part of you and every part of what surrounds you is improved when you improve your emotional health.
Oh yeah. And there's a part of me that wants to create people who go out and they help share this information and they help share how to do this and they help other people do it. They're willing to go up and rub someone on the arm to calm them down. They're willing to do something. I think a lot of people don't know what to do when other people are suffering, so they avoid them and they ignore them. But if you can just, if they're okay with it, you can just come up and rub their arm. That's it. And it does something super positive to make them feel better. The key isn't what you do necessarily. The key is when you help someone feel loved and safe and respected, it flips their nervous system switch and their body can heal themselves. Whereas if you ignore and avoid them and hope they get through the trouble all by themselves, it's almost impossible to get yourself out. You almost have to wait it out.
Yeah. So, I feel like that's about all we need to say about that. Don't you?
I like it. Well, this was a wonderful, wonderful chat. Now, all the speakers are offering something to kind of encourage women to engage and to support each other and share their vulnerabilities and be open and do this work and share their insights. Was there anything you want, like a 30-minute consult or something that they could maybe do an online NET session with you?
I prefer to do those sessions in person, and I'm not available until sometime next spring to do that. So let me think about what I might be able to offer, and I'll let you know.
Yeah. You're just you have so much wisdom in your brain. And I know that you've got I know you do. And you've got all of these tools and all of this insight that could really help some women who are struggling.
Well, thank you. But I not really practicing anymore. And, so I hesitate to take that on.
Okay.
But be a more casual way to do that too.
Okay. Anything works. We're just grateful that you're here sharing this time. And I'm so excited to see your pad, to see your place and say hi to your mom.
Oh, well, yeah, I can show you around a little more. And there's some really neat stuff in the whole little compound community that I'm in. So,
cool.
So let's talk later more in private.
I love it. Thank you, Jane. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me and doing this.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure, and I feel honored.
Thank you. Okay, see you later.
Bye.
Well, this has been a crazy day with everything going on in Washington, D.C., so I'm glad you spent some time with us. Thank you. We're going to be doing our healing tonight, so maybe think about some of the things you want to work through, maybe some of the anger you want to release. maybe some of the issues you've got problems around, maybe some of the sadness you want to release or the challenges you want to release. Because when you release them, your body actually gets healthier. So think about on our hour-long self-healing tonight that we'll do at 8 Central Standard Time. Think about some of the things you want to work through that came up today. About how clearing out the emotional health will take care of your pain. It helps take care of your brain fog. It helps take care of your immune system. It helps take care of your heart. So that's what we'll do tonight. Kind of look at some of the things that are coming up around your health, around how you feel, that you feel trapped or helpless or stuck or crazy about or frozen. Think about what some of those things are. Write them down if you need to. And then tonight when we do our healing, you can go through them. You can let them come to the surface and then do a havening or a TAT or a timeline or a pointy thing or whatever. There's millions of tools. Do something to get it off your system. This is like your dedicated physical, mental, emotional healing time that we're doing tonight. So I totally encourage you to come, stay the whole time. Even if you fall asleep and just listen to the music, that's good enough. Because we're trying to get your body used to being regulated, used to being in a good space. And that's what taking this time every night does. It helps train your body about what it feels like to feel good. And then you're going to want to feel good more often. And it's going to become a better habit and a part of your life. And that's what we want, is healthy, happy, balanced people. Okay, so I will see you guys tonight around 8 o'clock Central. And I'm going to check in to see what's going on in Washington. Talk to you later. Bye.